Can we start? Can we? Everything is all right? ಅವ್ರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಜಾತಂ ಸರ್ವಂ ಯಸ್ಮಿನ್ ಏವ ಪ್ರಲೀಯತೆ ಯೇನೇತಂ ಧಾರ್ಯತೆ ಚೈವ ತಸ್ಮೈ ಜ್ಞಾನಾತ್ಮನೇ ನಮಃ. ಈಶ್ವರೋ ಗುರುರಾತ್ಮೇತಿ ಮೂರ್ತಿಭೇದ ವಿಭಾಗಿನೇ ವ್ಯೋಮವತ್ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತದೇಹಾಯ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಾಮೂರ್ತಯೇ ನಮಃ. ತೈತ್ತಿರೀಯಕಸಾರಸ್ಯ ಮಯಾಚಾರ್ಯ ಪ್ರಸಾದತಃ ವಿಸ್ಪಷ್ಟಾರ್ಥರುಚೀನಾಂ ಹಿ ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯೇಯಂ ಸಂಪ್ರಣೀಯತೆ. ಓಂ ಸಹನಾ ಭವತು ಸಹನೌ ಭುನಕ್ತು ಸಹ ವೀರ್ಯಂಕರವಾವಹೈ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಾವಧೀತಮಸ್ತು ಮಾ ವಿದ್ವಿಷಾವಹೈ. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. ಓಂ ಆನಂದೋ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮೇತಿ ವ್ಯಜಾನಾತ್ ಆನಂದಾದ್ಯೇವ ಕಲ್ವಿಮಾನಿ ಭೂತಾನಿ ಜಾಯಂತೆ ಆನಂದೇನ ಜಾತಾನಿ ಜೀವಂತಿ ಆನಂದಂ ಪ್ರಯಂತ್ಯಭಿಶಂಬಿಷಂತೀತಿ. ಸೈಷಾ ಭಾರ್ಗವೀ ವಾರುಣೀ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪರಮೇ ವ್ಯೋಮನ್ ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠಿತಾ ಯ ಏವಂ ವೇದ ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠತಿ. ಅನ್ನವಾನನ್ನಾದೋ ಭವತಿ ಮಹಾನ್ ಭವತಿ ಪ್ರಜಯಾ ಪಶುಭಿರ್ಬ್ರಹ್ಮವರ್ಚಸೇನ ಮಹಾನ್ ಕೀರ್ತ್ಯಾ. So last class we almost completed this Bhargavi Varuni Vidya, these Panchakoshas. We started with the Annamaya and then Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and then finally he came to the conclusion Anandam Brahmeti Vyajanat. The bliss is the expression of divinity. The pure bliss, the ultimate bliss for which we are all actually working. We don't understand it. We understand it very differently. We exist because of that bliss. Raso vaisaha rasagrihevananda bhavati is what it said in Brahmananda Valli. He is that rasa of Ananda. So we all are. So Bhrigu finally, after so much of contemplation, finally he came to the conclusion that his search for divinity and that representation of the divinity is nothing but pure expression of Ananda. That is what he actually finally came to. We just stopped there. And then this Anuvaka, so this is from the beginning of Bhrguvalli up to this is only this conversation. Every time he goes to his father and father doesn't say anything, he sends him back. He says, Tapo Brahmeti, Tapasa Brahma Vijijñāsasva. Understand Brahman through tapas. Tapas only is Brahman, go. So after all that, these 6 Anuvakas are repeating one layer after one layer. He is peeling slowly. And finally he comes to a conclusive argument that the bliss, the expression of bliss, Ananda, is actually divinity. Now the Bhrguvalli, so one portion of half of Bhrguvalli ends here. I would say So there is a sort of a palashruti after that. After all these discussions, there is a conclusive part which we did not see. That's what it is here. Saisha Bhargavi Varuni Vidya, Parame Vyoman Pratishtita, and so on. So we'll just see that and move on to the next three Anuvakas, which brings something very interesting, something which is very relevant for today. Moment I was reading it, I got spun into my, Bhagavad Gita elective here, in which I talk about it in great detail in one class. All those ideas I find actually in the last three Anuvakas, which we will see. But we will see this phala, Brahma Vidya Palam. So, Saisha Bhargavi Varuni Vidya. Thus, this Sa Esha, Saisha, because this Vidya is a Strilinga in Sanskrit, every adjective must be in agreement in terms of gender, linga, case, everything. So this is all about Vidya. That's why Varuni, Bhargavi, so all those are the adjective for this. This is a Bhargavi Varuni Esha Vidya. So the Upanishad concludes by saying this is the Varuni Bhargavi Vidya. Varuni Bhargavi, Varunasya is Varuni, Tasya. It's a Taddita, it's called Taddita, Tasya. So Varuni. And Bhrgu is involved, so Bhargavi, the father and the son. Varuna is the father and Bhrgu is the son. So Bhargavi is pertaining to Bhrgu, Varuni is pertaining to Varuna, because both of them are involved in this. That's why this is called Varuni Bhargavi Vidya. Parame Vyoman Pratishtita. So it says, where is this knowledge residing? It is residing in Parame Vyoman, in Brahmanandavalli, Yove the Nihitam Guhayam Parame, starting of Brahmanandavalli. Brahmavida apnoti param tadesha bhyukta, and that it will come. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma Yove the Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. So this is connecting to that. So when it says Parame Vyoman, Nihitam Guhayam is also implied. It has been already explained. So this knowledge or this divinity, knowledge is what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Jnanam is Brahman. Satyam is Brahman. So this Jnana is nothing but Brahman. And where is this available? It says Parame Vyoman Pratishtita. Nihitam Guhayam also. It is in the deepest cave of this heart. Chetak Kuhare. Panchamukosti mekuto bihi is what Shankaracharya says. He says, in my cave, this five-faced Shiva is sitting. Where is my fear? That's what he says in Shivanandagari. So, Chetak Kuhare. So, there it is there. So, people can locate that divinity here. We don't have to go out anywhere. The journey for this, we will go out. Finally, we will have to return. Finally, we'll have to return. So that is what in Vedanta it is called Swakanta Bharana Nyaya. You have a necklace on your Kanta Abharana, Swakanta Abharana Nyaya. Some we have these spectacles nowadays. We have with this nice looking necklace kind of a thing. Sometimes we put it on like this, and we'll be searching all over for the spec. Somebody will say, hey, here it is. So the necklace is in the neck, and we are searching all around. That is called Swakanta Bharana Nyaya. So we will have to search outside. But in our search for it outside, Parame Vyoman, Nihitam Guhayam. So finally, Bhrgu also found that the answer lies within. Although we started searching outside, finally we will find the answer within. That's what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, that the bee, the honey bee, until it sits on the flower and starts sucking the honey, it will make noise. When it is, the wasp, when it is going, sound is coming. But moment it sits on the flower, when it starts consuming the nectar, all sound is gone. So like that, we will keep all noises, we will make all noises, we will search all around. But finally we will find that it is within. So that's what it says. Parame Vyoman Pratishtita, Nihitam Guhayam also. We can draw it from the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad. Ya evam Veda, the one who has understood this concept thus, this whole Brahma Vidya, which Bhrgu started by saying Annam brahmeti vyajanat, then he said pranam brahmeti vyajanat, mano brahmeti vyajanat, vijnanam brahmeti vyajanat, anandam brahmeti vyajanat. All that he knew. Finally, he understood that it is resident inside. So, yaha evam veda saha pratitishthati. He is established. He is firmly established. He is a brahmanishta. He revels and he stays there. The thought does not leave him. See, if somebody, just think about this possibility. Somebody learns for the first time to make dosa, let us say. How to prepare the batter, how to put the batter, what is the temperature. Can you tell me, if you learned it first time, will it go second time? It can't go second time. You cannot forget. Once you have learned something, you don't have to carry your shottu or you have all this thing, no? What you take, you don't have to carry it like this and show that I know how to cook. A person who cooks doesn't have to carry the utensil in his hand. You can't make out. But when the knowledge is come, it's settled forever. So this person will be like that. Once the knowledge is obtained, for the outside world he may look very ordinary. He may even engage in the outside world. Inside something else will happen. Because the knowledge is already obtained. Once the knowledge is obtained, there is no going back. You cannot forget any knowledge. You can only acquire more knowledge. Forgetting is only a question of memory failing you for some time. It may come back. It is a material concept. But anubhuti cannot be forgotten. Knowledge in the form of anubhuti, anubhava, can never be forgotten. Our anubhava will never desert us. So that is what it is. So yaha evam veda saha pratitishthati. Tasmin eva. In that knowledge of Brahman, they will reside. So that is what after the 6 Anuvakas it says. Then it says one more pala of this. It says Annavan annado bhavati. Annavan. Annavan is this is this mat pratyaya. Annavan is buddhiman we say na. Annavan is one who is reposed with annam. Means one who possesses all these. Annam here means material wealth. Annam means the larger annam which we understood, everything. So Annavan, that is the first part. Then Annadaha. See, there is one verbal root called Adha Bhakshane. Adha means to eat. But all these roots, the 2200 roots in Sanskrit, the way this dhatu pata is, it will tell the root and it will tell the what meaning it is used. So it says Adha Bhakshane. So in the sense of eating, use the verb called Adha. Dugrinch Karane, which comes in Bhajagovindam, na? It's actually kr. The dhatu is kr. There is an e and the du. All those are for dumatup and there are different rules for operating. So if you remove these two, kr karane, dugrinch karane. So all roots are written like that. Lochri darshane, lokr darshane. In the sense of seeing, use the root lochana. So like that, adha bhakshane. That adha becomes ati, eating. Adaha is one who is the eater. So annavan, annadaha. Anna plus adaha, annadaha bhavati. So it says he is the possessor of all wealth. He is a consumer of wealth also. Both are written there. Annavan, annadaha bhavati. Mahan bhavati. He becomes great. And how? There are a lot of Trittiya Vibhakti there. Prajaya, Trittiya Vibhakti is by. So by progeny, by having good progeny. Prajaya. Pashubihi, by having cattle. It's a plural. So cattles. Brahmavarchasena. Brahmavarchas, tasya Trittiya Vibhakti, Brahmavarchasena. All these are in third case. So he becomes great. He becomes Mahan on account of good progeny, on account of Pashubihi, cattle. See, this Pashubihi cattle is a contextual reference for wealth. In an agrarian economy, cattle is the source of wealth. The more cattle you have more wealth. So it is a contextual understanding. Essentially what he is saying is good offsprings, In fact, Swami Chinmayananda interprets the Prajaya also very nicely. He says that for such a person, it is not just his son. His whole Sishya Parampara is his Praja. So his is really large. Vasudaivaka Kutumbakam, Udara Charitanam, like that. So he even interprets it like that. Pashubihi Brahmavarchasena. And Kirtiya also. Kirti Tasya Tritiya Bhakti Kirtiya. So by Kirti also he will become Mahan. So the 6 Anuvakas ends with a certain kind of a pala, which says that a person who has obtained this Brahma, that's why Brahmavit apnoti param, is what in Brahmanandavalli it said. So it said, we don't have to take it literally. What it says is, a person who has attained such a high knowledge, all these worldly things will neither satisfy him nor dissatisfy him, so you can club him into any adjective you want. You can club him in whichever adjective you want, because these are immaterial for him. So all these will only add fame and greatness to him, because it is not going to affect him, it is not going to, he is blind neutral on it. So that is the actual sense of this. So with that, this whole 6 Anuvakas end. Then what it does is very interesting. There are 4 more Anuvakas, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Anuvaka 7, 8 and 9 brings a very interesting Upasana. It brings a contemplation. It actually, if you remember, the first chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad is 6 types of Upasana, 6 or 7 types of Upasana. Here it ends the Upanishad with again this notion of Upasana, but then it brings something very interesting, which I find very strongly in the Vedantic culture. So let me a little bit talk about it, then only, we should look at all these mantras. It makes a lot of sense. Actually, if you look at, we have to really read our wisdom properly, our ancient Indian wisdom, to appreciate this. Actually, our culture, if you take our culture, our Vedantic wisdom and lore, whatever way you call it, and the cultural ethos that every one of us practice, this is wired into our DNA actually. Nothing to do with our demography. In this country, we are wired with a certain ethos, certain cultural, ethos that we have. All of them, if you see, they will very greatly emphasize, not ordinarily, very greatly they'll emphasize on what, if I use a modern equivalent term, what is called mutual dependence. This is the bedrock of our thinking in this country. Bedrock of our thinking is the value we have attached to what is called mutual dependence. In fact, the very word dharma is a very interesting word. Dharma, actually, dharma comes from the dhatu dhrui dharane. Dhrui, again there is this root dhrui dharane, in the meaning of support, behold, sustain. Dharana is one which can support, which can withstand, which can support, which can tolerate. You can put many words around it. They're all, So the word dharma has come from dhr. That root dhr only, you apply some rules, you get dharma. That's why in Mahabharata, in Karna Parva, the definition of dharma is given as, dharana dharma ityahuhu. Dharmo dharayate jagat. The first line says, dharanat dharma iti ahuhu. You know why it is called dharma? Because its very purpose is dharanat. Its very purpose and its very idea is to support. Today we use the modern word sustainability. So dharma is nothing but sustainability. Today you have to switch on one of the ACs. I think it's too warm, I think. One day he switches on all the AC, one day he switches off all. So average is okay. You can have that and one on that corner. So, dharana dharma ityahuhu dharmo dharayate jagat. That's what Krishna says. Actually, there's a conversation in which he says, what do you define dharma? Dharma is that which has, the second line also says that. Yat dharana sanyuktam. He says that which goes against the principle of sustainability cannot be dharma. That is what it is. That which goes against the grain of sustainability cannot be called dharma. So the very word dharma, we have actually thought about this. That's why in Manusmriti also it says, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharma eva hato hanti. Both it says, Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, Dharma eva hato hanti. Because it's understandable. Sustainability is the bedrock of you and I being there and our future generation being there. This is not rocket science. Today it has become such an idea which, so we today live in a world, actually, world is a very, and way the ancestors have thought about it is they have seen that there is a huge complex interrelationship between so many things in the world. It's a very complex equation. My favorite argument of this is that is why you need a supercomputer to predict rain. Because I am told some 100,000 differential equations are running. Science is at the edge of trying to find out whether it will rain or not. Okay? Whereas our ancestors in every prayer, you look at the entire Rig Veda and Yajurveda. You take any sukta, look at the entire Yajurveda, you find that the prayer, we had only one metric for sustainability. They simplified the whole equation into a simple metric. They said measure, it's called key performance index, no? KPI if you want to use today's word. Our ancestors are a KPI for sustainability. They ask how much rain is coming. If everything is all right, if the complex interrelationships are broadly maintained, rain will come. This is a beautiful KPI for me. Just one metric. Throughout the Veda, they all talk only rain. Rain is a very, very indicator. To me, the only indicator for sustainability is rain. If rain happens in every our vernacular language also it is emphasized. They say, thrice a month it should rain. These are all indicative passages. The point we are making is this culture greatly believed in sustainability. This culture also understood that this sustainability is very complex. Modern chaos theory talks what is called butterfly effect. That's the word they use. It's called butterfly effect. The flapping of the wings by the butterfly can affect a certain event 2 weeks later. That Lawrence or somebody has done a little bit of that butterfly effect is coming out of chaos theory. Our ancestors had exactly that idea. Now the only difference is they had a certain understanding of it and they said because this is the cosmic order, they laid the dharma, the do's and don'ts. They said, please do like this, the world will be sustainable. Now the modern science wants to say, no, I am not going to believe you. I am going to believe another set of people who have a coat and shirt and a tie and they will do research and they will tell us. So there are two types of research. That research is so distant for us, we are not able to, so that today's Jnana Parampara is not able to take it. Maybe because, it's too far away. It's all changing, flavor and so we are unable to, so we want to get into a complex mechanism. But anyway, but I think the divinity's rules cannot be any different. Method of understanding it can be any different. You can say science, you can put a complex thing, or people can use intuition and say this is what it is, please take what I say. So you can go from a rational side or an intuitive side. Reality cannot change because you chose to go in a particular way. So anyway, so that is the idea. So modern living and paradigms have, it looks like on the face of it, I wouldn't blatantly accuse too much, but I certainly say on the face of it, it looks like we seem to be pushing this idea of sustainability to the background, at least albeit temporarily, or pushing it perhaps under the carpet or so on. But then there are so many things which keeps. Why am I saying that? Because there is this. We are tending towards. These are all momentary, according to me. 30, 40, 50 years, things will change. Maybe 100 years, things will change. Not all of us in this room will see it, but that has nothing to do with the reality. Today, we are in a certain wave of crass consumerism, where we say that we will consume left, right, center, and so on. This is adharmic. This is nothing to do with dharma because this violates the fundamental principle of sustainability. To me, dharma is a simple rule of sustainability. This cannot sustain. Maybe for another 30, 40, 50, already, we are sort of seeing a few things going around and so on. Whereas our cultural practices were very strong on it. Our cultural ethos are very strong on this notion of mutual dependence. Right? Natural calamities are from time to time a little bit reminding us that the relationships are complex, that this world is a very complex relationship. And some of the recent studies and the experiments also seem to point to, as I told you, the chaos theory, there are quite a few experiments are going on. They are able to see this reality of the Prakriti. But while these are, in fact, I want to show one very interesting experiment, video which I show it in my class. I want to show that today because it's so interesting. You'll see that video. There's a YouTube video. You have it, no? You can play it for the purpose of our live stream friends. Sound is not. Why is this fellow not working? Huh? No, it will come directly there. Doesn't come? Just click and it will come from the PPT. Are you ready? Can go to the PPT and click.
Yeah, click.
I don't know why it is not coming. Should pick up the sound. Subtitle is there, fortunately. I'll wait. Let it there. This has moved a little ahead. We'll wait.
One of the most exciting scientific findings of the past half-century has been the discovery of widespread trophic cascades. A trophic cascade is an ecological process which starts at the top of the food chain and tumbles all the way down to the bottom. And the classic example is what happened in the Yellowstone National Park in the United States when wolves were reintroduced in 1995. Now, we all know that wolves kill various species of animals, but perhaps we're slightly less aware that they give life to many others. Before the wolves turned up, they'd been absent for 70 years. That the numbers of deer, because there was nothing to hunt them, had built up in the Yellowstone Park, and despite efforts by humans to control them, they'd managed to reduce much of the vegetation there to almost nothing. They'd just grazed it away. But as soon as the wolves arrived, even though they were few in number, they started to have the most remarkable effects. First, of course, they killed some of the deer, but that wasn't the major thing. Much more significantly, they radically changed the behavior of the deer. The deer started avoiding certain parts of the park, the places where they could be trapped most easily, particularly the valleys and the gorges. And immediately those places started to regenerate. In some areas, the height of the trees quintupled in just 6 years. Bare valley sides quickly became forests of aspen and willow and cottonwood. And as soon as that happened, the birds started moving in. The number of songbirds and migratory birds started to increase greatly. The number of beavers started to increase because beavers like to eat the trees. And beavers, like wolves, are ecosystem engineers. They create niches for other species. And the dams they built in the rivers provided habitats for otters and muskrats and ducks and fish and reptiles and amphibians. The wolves killed coyotes, and as a result of that, the number of rabbits and mice began to rise, which meant more hawks, more weasels, more foxes, more badgers. Ravens and bald eagles came down to feed on the carrion that the wolves had left. bears fed on it too, and their population began to rise as well, partly also because there were more berries growing on the regenerating shrubs. And the bears reinforced the impact of the wolves by killing some of the calves of the deer. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wolves changed the behavior of the rivers. They began to meander less. There was less erosion. The channels narrowed, more pools formed, more riffle sections, all of which were great for wildlife habitats. The rivers changed in response to the wolves. And the reason was that the regenerating forests stabilized the banks so that they collapsed less often, so that the rivers became more fixed in their course. Similarly, by driving the deer out of some places and the vegetation recovering on the valley sides, there was less soil erosion because the vegetation stabilized that as well. So the wolves, small in number, transformed not just the ecosystem of the Yellowstone National Park, this huge area of land, but also its physical geography.
Can get out. Okay. So on one hand, when people are doing this, on the other hand, people think that they can control nature. So that, I call it as playing God. This is called playing God, because you know how many deer has to be there, and whereas here you let loose maybe 100 or odd jackals or whatever. Yellowstone National Park, look at the complexity of nature. That's what this video is. So there are several experiments like this, which are all slowly trying to understand this concept, whereas our literature is full of that. I think the most shining and the one which we all know, because these are all important for sustainability that we are talking today, is dharma is one concept, yajna is another concept in our whole system. The very purpose of yajna is sustainability. So that's why in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, shlokas 9 to 20, this idea is so beautifully brought out. I'll just take 2 shlokas. Just 2 shlokas out of those 12 shlokas, in which you get a glimpse of this same idea which Krishna talks about. So this is 11th shloka. Devan bhavayata anena, te deva bhavayantuvaha, parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha param avapsyata. Krishna says to Arjuna, that parasparam bhavayantaha, shreyaha param avapsyata. He says the pinnacle of prosperity you can obtain only when you honor the principle of mutual dependence. This is a very fundamental idea of yajna. Yajna is the fundamental principle of yajna is live and let live. That is the idea. Live and let live is not the poor people and the neighbors. Live and let live is a concept for the entire ecosystem. Devan bhavayata anena. Deva does not mean, the God that you see in the temple. The meaning of Deva is this natural ecosystem. They are the Devas. Prithvi, Indra, Varuna, all these are what? Lightning, rain, water, Agni, all these are Devas. These natural ecosystem are personified as Devas. Or in other words, if you have that much belief, the Devas actually manifested as different forms of Virat. So Devan bhavayata anena, te deva bhavayantu vaha, you have this, respect and this thing for the Devas. They will also, take care of you. Live and let live is a fundamental principle of yajna. Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha paramavapsyata. So that is the very idea of the culture. I mean, it can translate into anything. It can translate into a management principle, it can translate into an ecological argument, environmental argument that we are talking about. It can translate into what these three Anuvakas are also going to talk about, that it can be a Vedantic idea, where the whole world is so connected. There is nothing like you or any separate. That's what the three Anuvakas are going to say in a particular way. So you can raise this discussion to any level if you want. Let's say a few shlokas later. But the next shloka is very interesting. It says, Parjanya, Annad Bhavanti Parjanyaha, Parjanyat Annasambhava, all those are there. Yajnat Bhavanti, all that is there. Look at the 16th shloka. Because all those cycle of good karma leads to yajna, yajna leads to rain, rain leads to Oshadaya, Oshadaya leads to, all those are there. Then follows with this shloka. It says, Evam pravartitam chakram. There is this cycle, complex cycle, interrelated principle of existence. Evam pravartitam chakram na anuvartayati iha. If some fellow says, I will not, I will break, I will be selfish, I will rip off the whole system and go, I will not honor this. They think they may be very smart. Don't reduce our Hindu thought and the Sanatana Dharma to such a foolish, simple thing where people can get away. That means you haven't understood. If you get away, you'll come back. You can go nowhere. Nobody can sow something and take without reaping the benefit of it. This is the fundamental bedrock of Sanatana Dharma. So don't think you can smart out. People did not see I stole it. All those people who stole are all in the traffic signals now. They are the beggars. You have to get it back. Where will you go? You cannot go. Of course, have pity for them and give them some money. That's a different thing. But nobody can smart out the system and go. This is a very contrived and a very narrow thinking. So he says, Evam pravartitam chakram na anuvartayati iha yaha. That person who says, I will smart it out, as though I am a very smart person. Krishna says, Agayuhu indriya ramaha. Okay? He says, Ayuhu agamiva. Your life is full of sin. You may think you are enjoying, you are not enjoying, you are only, putting it and taking it back a little later. Agayuhu indriya aramaha. You revel only in your indriyas. Such people are reveling in their indriyas. Ashusu ramante iti asuraha. People who are reveling in their indriyas are called, Ashusu is the indriyas. So people who are all so, enjoyable variety are the asuras. Asuras is not what they show in the movie. Some long neck and some weird looking, flat tummy, very belly and all. It's not that. Asura, Rakshasa are all, clear. First principle you have to understand the meaning. So they are all asuras. Why? Because Indriya Ramaha. Indriyani Ramante. Indriyani Indriyarte Ramante. That's what it is. Mogam Parthasa Jivati. They are deluded. They are foolish. They have not understood. They have not understood life. They think they are smarting out. They have not understood life. This is what he says. There's a whole long discussion. I just pulled 2 shlokas. Just to tell you, our life of dharma, yajna, karma must fall out of dharma and yajna. Must come out of dharma and yajna. That is our lifestyle. And that is all meant to remind us, to make us live in a paraspara bhava. This is the fundamental idea. So now let us see how this idea comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. I mean, all these I am saying because only then this will make sense. So let us read the next Anuvaka, next 3 Anuvakas. But before that, I want to also tell you what is the structure employed to communicate this in these 3 Anuvakas. Let me say that. So what Bhrguvalli has done is it has taken its own framework. See, each of these Upanishad texts takes its own. We saw the, Garuda Chit in the last chapter, a flying kind of, these are all different frameworks in which it is trying to communicate. So here the framework is as follows. What it does is, it takes 2 frameworks. One is called Anna and Annada. Just now we saw it. Annavanan Ado Bhavati Mahan Bhavati Prajaya Pashubir Brahmavarchasena Mahan Kirtya. That will keep on repeating. You will see it here also. The framework is already established. So there is a framework of Anna and Annada. In other words, the one who is the eater and one which is eaten. Annam is what is eaten. Annada is one who is the eater, or the possessor and the enjoyer. You can put many words like this. The consumer and the consumed. That's another way. So it has taken one framework like that. Then it has taken another framework, Pratishta and Pratishtitaha. One in which it is established, one which is getting established. The established, the fixer and the fixed, or the establisher and the established. You can take it like that. So it takes these 2 kind of a framework. With this framework, it is actually explaining it. So that is the framework. So what it has done is in the 7th, 8th and 9th Anuvaka, what it has done is it has taken the eaten and eater as one framework, supporter and supported as another framework, and mapped on it 3 pairs of entities and say do Upasana on that. Just like the first chapter we saw, Upasana is basically, you need a framework on which you have to contemplate. You need a map of this country to know. When India means you cannot, you'll go out of your, so you need a map. Or the flag is India for us. Right? Saligrame Vishnuvat, Shankaracharya says. The Saligrama is actually a representation of Vishnu. So that is the value of a Upasana. In a Upasana, an incomprehensible idea can be comprehended as a one-to-one mapping. So it has taken 3. Shariram and Prana is one, which is taken and put into these 2 frameworks. That is Anuvaka 7. Anuvaka 8 is Agni and Apa. And Anuvaka 9 is Prithvi and Akasha. So it is a Upasana. He says, can you contemplate this concept? You will understand. This is what we tried in chapter 1 of Taittiriya Upanishad, in the Sikshavalli also. So these 3 Anuvakas are going through it. So now let us see. So the idea is a deep contemplation or meditation of this will lead us to this interdependence of the cosmic entity. That is the spirit of the whole discussion. But Veda and ancient Indian wisdom has its own ways of putting it. We have to, cull out that sense of what it is saying. So we will see the mantra now. Anuvaka 7. Annam na nindyat tadvratam prano va annam shariramaannadam prane shariram pratishtitam sharire prana pratishthitah tadetadannamanne pratishtitam saya etadannamanne pratishtitam veda pratitishthati annavanannado bhavati mahan bhavati prajaya pashubir brahmavarchasena mahan kirtya. So that last 2 lines we already explained, so it will keep coming. We'll skip the last 2 lines. It is a pala, Upasana pala. So what is it saying? First of all, it says annam na nindyat. Okay, that's the first thing it says. Tad vratam. Don't blaspheme food, or don't do the udasina of the food. Nindam na karotu. Annam na nindyat. Tad vratam. Take it as a O. So this is the first. So food is taken, and the concept of food as eater and eaten, and with that it is connecting to several entities. Say that is the Upasana. Upasana is you have to connect a concept into something and see a larger principle behind it. This is the whole trick of the Upasana. So you want to have a Saligrama and then you want to see Vishnu there. and prolonged contemplation, you will see Vishnu there. People will see Vishnu there. You know, if I don't see Vishnu, I have not had enough contemplation. Tapas is not enough. That's all. And the idol that is put, idol worship is partly that. So Saguna Upasana is only a step for Nirguna. You can't straight away comprehend Nirguna. Once you know the Saguna and you are very deeply into it, you can remove the objects. Nothing will happen. So that is a step. So the Upasanas are all meant for it. Upasana, after that only knowledge. Jnana Kanda, before that we need Upasana Kanda. So he says, contemplate on food. Don't waste food. That's what it is saying. Annamna nindya tad vratam. And then it says, how do you link it? It says, pranova annam shariramannadam. So it says, prana and sharira. It has taken these two. And it says, you contemplate the concept of one dependent on the other dependent on this. This is the principle with which it is trying to actually argue. So one is the eater and the eaten. The other is the supporter and the supporter. These are two frameworks. So what it says is, the prana is the... See, the word annam and annada is used more to say eat and eater and eaten. That's where it is coming. So what it is saying, prana is the eater, sharira is the eaten. Vice versa is, sharira is the eater, prana is the eaten. He says, for years you contemplate on it. This is the upasana. If you understand it, you would have got a deeper principle. This is the simple idea there. The prana is the eater and sharira is the eaten. You know what it means? There are several ways we can understand it. We are told, I don't know whether modern science will actually confirm it or not, each one is born with a certain beats of the prana. Yeah, breaths or beats of the heart or whatever. I mean, I don't know which way modern science understands it. And what does it mean? From the time you start breathing, your sharira is being eaten now. That is the meaning. Right? From the time we started breathing, what is happening? We are not growing. We may be growing in size, but we are actually shrinking. In fact, you leave the breath. If somebody lived 100 years, I keep giving this example quite often. If somebody lives 100 years, understand that on the day he or she was born, he or she had 36,500 days with them. Next day, she or he had 36,499. 2 days later, it is 36,498. So one is eating the other. This is the idea. One is eating the other. Right? So prana is eating the anna. Now it says annam is eating the prana. And you know what it means? It means the prana, as you understand, as this inhaling and exhaling, is the only way this body is growing. The food for it to grow is, and you have to go to Prashna Upanishad to understand it in great detail. This whole discussion, little bit I have quoted today, also I will quote a little bit from Prashna Upanishad. The way this body grows is the vital air has to be breathed in and breathed out, no? So for the body to grow, the food is the prana. And for the prana to grow or whatever, food is the sharira. We have to deeply contemplate. It gives us a very fundamental understanding of what value we should put for sharira and prana. That is where it will lead us. If you keep on thinking about this and then look at it from different ways, it can put a certain value in terms of what it is. So there are many ways one can actually talk. In fact, Chinmayananda gives a nice interpretation to it. He says, food don't think. And so far, all these passages can be explained in many levels. So far I use the food and this sense. He raises it to another level. He says, food is not what we eat through your mouth. He says, pancha indriya, food for thought we say. We also use it in English. We say food for thought. Food for thought does not go through the mouth. It goes through the indriyas. It goes through the jnanendriyas into your mind. So he says, what is this food? This food is something which the pancha indriyas are actually having. Right? If you go raise to that level, then there is another shloka in Vairagya Shataka which comes to my mind. He says, there is a 7th shloka in Vairagya Shataka. It says, Bhogana Bhokta Vayameva Bhoktaha. It's a nice shloka. He says, we wanted to enjoy the world through the Indriyas. Finally, what we found was we were consumed. We became old, na? Bhogana Bhoktaha Vayameva Bhoktaha. Tapona Taptaha Vayameva Taptaha. There is no nice shloka like that. So if you raise the discussion to that level also, this sentence will make sense. The prana will eat the deha, sharira. The sharira will eat the prana. You can raise to any level and understand this. That is what it is at one level. So the point is, if A becomes the eater for B and B becomes the eater for A, actually, logically you have to come to a conclusion, A and B are critically mutually dependent. That is all you can say. These are the mutual dependencies being established.
Or we can say both are same.
Either both are same, or in another level of understanding of the reality, they are basically dependent on one another. Both are same is the next level of conclusion we have to come. So one critically depends on the other critically depends on the one. At a higher level we will understand both are the same. Exactly, that is the next interpretation. Both are the same. All these are implied by this framework. They have a very figurative way, a way which on the face of it will not make sense if you read an English translation sort of a thing. Then he says, Prane Shariram Pratishtitam. Sharire Pranaha Pratishtitaha. It says the prana for it to live or to be supported, it needs Sharira. Sharira to be supported, it needs prana. It is also understandable. Because both are required. Because air blowing in the outside world is not prana. You need the sharira and these apparatuses called nostril, windpipe, lungs. There is a whole mechanical parts inside which are required for this prana to be realized. So for prana's existence, sharira is required. For sharira's existence, prana is required anyway. Let's say when prana hogita andre, over. When the prana goes, the sharira is of no use. So again, what it is saying is these two entities are so closely interrelated to one another, either as a consumer-consumed framework you see, supporter-supported framework that you see, you will find these two are very mutual. In other words, repeatedly if we contemplate every day, 1 hour we sit and then read this mantra and start thinking about what this mantra is actually. This is called Upasana. Upasana means for a long time we have to take a mantra and then keep on rattling it in our intellect. Then we may come to an understanding of this world being a mutually dependent complex entity and that all are same. That will also have to come. You cannot escape that. So that is what it is. Let me just... so this is a framework. Can you change here also? So, Annam, Annadaha, that is the framework, one framework. Then now you are superimposing Shariram and Prana. We say Shariram is, I have taken another example here, small little examples to explain. If you talk about reduction of flab, obesity and so on, right, then Sharira becomes the Anna for Prana. Through Pranayama you reduce. Lot of yogic practices, pranayama or what? The anna is consuming the body and making it thinner, making it whatever you want. The so-called yoga practices are all can be mapped on this framework. One becomes the annadaha, other becomes the annam. If you look at the other way, inhaling and breathing of air, what is being consumed is prana and the one who is consuming is the sharira. So these are one level. I gave one or two other examples of that. Now this prana and sharira, pradishtita and sharira pradishtita and prana are all Prashna Upanishad has lots of details on it. So I just picked up the 3rd shloka in chapter 2 and 3rd shloka in chapter 3, which puts both the views. Look at this shloka. So chapter 2 starts like this. The student, there are Gargeya, he is asking question to Pipalada. Who is great amongst all these? You have prana, this, that and so on. So all the organs said, we are the great. At that time prana rose and said, wait, that's what this mantra is. This is the 3rd mantra. Tan is the other indriyas, the other prana, other indriyas and Agni, Vayu and all that. For them, prana says if I go, heat will go. So prana is explaining. It's put in a particular way as though it is talking. This is like a cartoon movie in which jackals will talk, elephants will talk. Nowadays aeroplanes also talk. So it's only a way of media of communication, right? So tan varishtaha prana uvacha, the one who is the most chief of all that which is a prana, rose up and said, wait a minute. Okay? He says, ma moham apadyata, don't get into delusion. Apadyata, ma moham apadyata, don't get into delusion. Ahameva etat panchada atmanam pravibhijya, I distribute myself into 5. These are all explained in chapter 3 of Prashna Upanishad in great detail. No, wait a minute, don't get deluded. I get in, set up the shop, divide myself into 5. Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana. Right? Vibhajya, Etad Banam Avashtabhya, I get into this mortal coil. Okay? Vidharayamiti, I am only supporting. Dhara. Dharayati, I am only supporting. So, I am the one. So, in other words, it says that I am the, Pratishta, Shariram is the Pratishtitaha. I am supporting the Sharira by getting in and distributing myself into 5. This is what it said in chapter 2. Chapter 3, it exactly reversed. In chapter 3, he says, there the question is, tell me what is this prana. So the student got more interested. So he asked the third, tell me what is this 5 division that you are talking about. That is explained in chapter 3. Now in chapter 3 there are about 12 mantras. Mantras start by saying, how did prana in the first place get established? And then it says like a king is calling, king calls people and say, I am not able to administer myself, so I am appointing you. Like that the prana appointed, like that the mantras go. Then apana, vyana, udana descriptions are all coming. Now it says, how did prana get into the first place? I quoted it 2 weeks back. Same mantra I quoted. Mano brahmeti vyajanat. At that time I quoted this. Same mantra. So what does it say? Atmana eva prano jayate. That Purusha comes as prana. Okay? Yata yesha purushe chaya. Etat. Etasmin. Etad atatam. So it is like the shadow of the Brahman. That's why shadow can go. Shadow can be destroyed, the source will remain. That's why the choice of the word shadow. So this is the shadow of the Brahman. Manokritena, it says, how does it come in? It is enabled through manas, which is part of this body system. Body, mind, intellect is this other shariram, no? Sukshma sharira. It may not be stula sharira, it's a sukshma sharira. It is part of that. It says, manokritena ayati asmin sharire. So it says, in order for it to get in and open up, after it opens up, it supports the... So to bootstrap it, if we have to, it says the manas brings it. These are all, from previous Janma, the chapter ends with how it happens also. I quoted all those 2 weeks back. So here it says, for the prana to live, support the prana, you need sharira. So point is, all these are coming from different directions. Point it is making is slowly, if we contemplate on this repeatedly, we will see that the world is a very connected thing. These are all some frameworks to sort of give us a certain lens to understand it. The idea is the world is a hugely connected piece. And more we understand the seamless connection, the oneness will come out of it. The oneness is a logical conclusion of establishing this mutual dependence. Mutual dependence is a necessary condition for that sufficient condition of oneness. So that is what is being attempted through this mantra. So another example I took. Living person in a normal sense, body is required for the prana to function. Because you need all these apparatuses for the prana to go in and come. So now the pratishta is the shariram, pratishtitaha is the prana. Prana requires the body. That kind of an example. If you take the other way, if prana is not there, the body has no use. So in that way, this is the pratishta and that is the pratishtitaha. So I have just crossed it, both the arguments. So all these are told only to make us understand. The sooner we understand that we are a part of the butterfly effect, we understand that this world is a complex piece and we are part of it. That's why Krishna in chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita is that Matta parataram na anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamitam protam sutre manigana iva. I am like a long thread in which all kinds of different colors and shapes of beads are woven one after the other. That reality cannot come very easily. This Upasana can help. Can repeatedly ask what is being told here. That can help, and if that happens, then he says the same similar Palashruti is there. Saha yaha etad annam anne pratishtitam veda. That now both of them are annam. Because one is the annam of the other is the annam of the this. So finally this is on that. So in food is established food. He is using a very figurative usage like that. So it's a very figurative usage. Anne annam pratishtitam. Yaha etat annam anne pratishtitam veda pratitishthati. He becomes established in this truth. He will have this unwavering truth in him. Okay? Then annavanannavado bhavati mahan bhavati prajaya pashubhihi brahmavarchasena, what we saw already. Mahan kirtya. So this is one framework. Anuvaka 8 and 9 brings two more frameworks, which we will see in the next class. Next 2 weeks I am traveling. It's a little bit of a travel, so we will not have a class on 15th. I am very sorry, Rajesh, you have come all the way. I wish we could have. We will not have the class on 15th. We will not have the class on 22nd also. Fortunately, God has been kind. There is a 29th Monday, so we will have a class on 29th. Okay. Yeah, you can stop it and publish it. Post it. Yeah, prasadam is there. Srirangam prasadam. Nikhil has went to Srirangam. Please have the prasadam.